Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started now. And so thank you so much. Thank you for your patience and waiting just a little bit longer. We appreciate that. Welcome to our 2023. This will be our 12th season for Community of Faith Mission. So thank you so much for coming out. It's so important when you volunteer that you come here. Because there's so many things, there's so many pieces to the puzzle, and many people think, oh, I'm just going to come out for a couple of hours. I can guarantee you, when you don't come to training and you don't watch the video, if you can't make it, it shows. Then we have to spend a lot more time with training that particular individual. And so thank you for doing this. I certainly do appreciate it. We would like to get started. I was so excited that everybody was here. I took a picture of you. So if there's somebody who doesn't like their picture taken, and if it's due to personal beliefs, then let me know. If it's just because you don't want it, too bad. You're going to be in the newsletter. So anyway, without any further ado, I would like to invite our president. Her name is Cindy Jordan, and she would like to give the opening prayer. Is it on? Yep.
Well, thank you, Donnie. She didn't introduce herself. This is Donnie McDaniel, and this is we have a new position. It's assistant to Donnie because there's so much to do, and this is Will Marie. So she'll be speaking tonight as well, and they both work for us. So I'm here. My name is Cindy Jordan, and I'm the president of the board this year. And I'm going to, let's bring the Lord into the room. Lord, as we gather, we remember that all we have in this world is a gift from you that requires the collaboration of human hands. Without you, we can do no good thing. May your Spirit make us wise. May your Spirit guide us. May your Spirit renew us. May your Spirit strengthen us for the season ahead. Thank you for all those who offer their time and talents, joining in our ministry to bring healing, hope, and compassion to all those in need who come through our doors. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. All right, here. So first slide, please. Ferdinand, do you want me to just do a thumbs up each time, or what would you like? Okay. All right, so first off, I want to thank you for your willingness to serve, and it's truly appreciated. As I said, without you, COFM wouldn't even be able to exist. Can you imagine if each one of you charged us? Don't think about it, but just think if you did, what kind of a budget we would have to just function. So by you giving of your hearts and your time, it just makes the mission possible. So thank you so much for that. The other thing is we will not be taking questions during the training so that we can move along through it pretty quickly, but we will reserve 15 minutes or so for any questions you may have. Then right immediately afterwards, if you want to stand up and say your highs and hellos and whatever, you want to chat with someone, but you're not planning on staying for the security part of it, if you would please just go out into the lobby area to do that so that we can respect the time of the people who are going to stay longer in order to get the security training. And so without any further ado, thank you. Boy, you're right on it. So the next slide, I'm going to turn this over to Will Marie, as Cindy shared. She is my assistant. She has been a godsend. She does an excellent job. And the nice thing, the bonus with her is she is bilingual. So we have an extra bonus. So when we have guests who do not speak English very well, then we have someone who can help us. Unless they're Russian or something, then she might have a little difficulty. So without any further ado, Will Marie, you'll have to tell him when to change the slide.
Hi. So many friendly faces from our last season and some new faces. Looking forward to working with all of you this year again. The first thing that I want to bring up is our mission statement. Community of Faith Mission is a faith-based emergency shelter program that serves those experiencing homelessness in the greater Williamsburg community during the coldest month of the year. As a note to you, everything presented here is being recorded, so you can later on go and refresh if you forget some of the information, or share it with other members of your church. We want to move on to temperature checks. We are still doing this. We are doing it not necessarily because of COVID, we're doing it because of any sickness. In a shelter environment, it's very easy for sickness to spread around. That could be the flu, that could be anything. So please, as a volunteer, make sure that when you enter the shelter for your shift, someone is checking your temperature. If we're not doing it, it should not be the shelter manager. There's a designated volunteer that will have the thermometer, but please take the initiative. If you notice that there was no one, it could be because the person is running late. Let us know, and we will make sure that everyone's temperature gets checked. If you are sick, please don't come. We're trying to avoid the spread of sickness. Some of you remember from last year, we started with no mask and halfway through had to change it because we got a little bit of a breakdown of sickness. Good for the next slide. So this is a video showing you how you're gonna be checking in. It's not exactly what you did here today. We have a new program. I wanted to show you what it will look like. You know, the screen in the laptop is adjustable. You can move it front and back depending on the light of the room and the height. You're gonna find the icon to check in the middle of the screen. When it loads, it gives you the option to create an account or to sign in as a guest. We want you to sign in as a guest. At that point, it's going to ask you for the date. It is already pre-selected for you for that same day, so you just have to click on it. Then it asks you, what event are you helping? We are all helping at the shelter, so what you're gonna do is pick the church or the location where the shelter is that week. After that, it's going to ask you for your shift. It's basically if you are check-in, if you're meals, if you're an overnight, or if you're from the breakfast crew. So all you need to do is pick what shift you work. Then it asks you for the hours, just a total number of hours that you were assigned, and it will also ask you for comments. You do not have to fill this out. This is only if you feel there's something else you need to tell us. Then it moves to your name, last name, and email. After the email, it will ask you if you're a robot. I promise you, it won't make you start clicking on pictures to see that you're not a robot. Just by the action of clicking on the square and then pressing the sign in option, it automatically takes you to the submission page, and it gives you a confirmation saying everything went through. We will have the paper check-in if, in case we run, the internet is not working right, there's any problems with the power or anything, then we'll use the paper option. Moving on. Rules, why all the rules? And I can start with safety. Guests cannot go out to their vehicles outside once checked in. But why? They're only gonna go get their charger from the car that they forgot. Safety. After they're checked in, they don't have access anymore to anything that was not allowed inside the shelter. the moment they walk outside the building, we lose control again of what's coming back in. Guests cannot go into their belongings for any reason once they're checked in because of safety. You cannot see what's happening with the hands inside a black bag if they are looking for stuff inside the black bags. We do not give individual gifts, rights, or personal information. This is safety. We do not know, we only know one part of the story from our guests. We don't know them. We should not be sharing anything but our first name. Can you have conversation? Of course you can have conversation. Just don't share your place of work, where your kids go to school, anything that can identify you directly. No electronics after 10. I know this is a big one, but they have headphones. What, damage that's gonna make to anyone? Well, the light, when all the lights are off, if a cell phone is on because someone is watching a movie or something, that light can be disturbing someone else. The other problem sometimes is how many times you're not having headphones, but listening to a song and start singing out loud without realizing that you started singing out loud. That disturbed the peace of everyone else. That is why it's an absolute no electronics after 10. It keeps the peace. If the light triggers someone or the noise triggers someone, that could cause a problem inside the shelter. We do not give out extra linens or emergency clothing. We have limited quantities. The emergency clothing is used for when someone comes with absolutely nothing or when their clothes is damaged. Last year we had someone that it rained and they were not on the bus and they were soaking wet, and we knew that that person had no access to anything else. So that's when we handed extra clothing. The linen is counted for your week. If we hand extra blankets, it will leave us short at the end of the week if we end up filling the shelter that week. And then check-in procedures, set of procedures, why everything have to look exactly the same from church to church. It's safety too. Consistency, having consistency is key for the success of the program. So there's a couple of things that we want you to do, we want you to know. One is, when you get to the shelter, we want you to make sure you have signed the confidentiality agreement. If you have not done it, we have a copy there. We do not need one copy for each person. Everyone can sign the same page. We want you to use a tag, a volunteer tag, only with your first name. No last names. If we have 2 Bobs or 3, like it happens one time, you can put the first initial, or you can put number 1, number 2, and number 3. You can make it funny. It actually, I think that's how it ended up, Bob 1, Bob 2, something like that. Please be on time. We need you there to be able to run the shelter. And do not share any guest information with anyone outside the shelter. There are very specific protocols for sharing information with the police. You always should check with the shelter manager before. Okay, so another very important topic that always come up is youth groups and kids at the shelter. We are not talking about the guests, we are talking about volunteers. These are the policies, and this year we are going to really try and enforce this, again, for safety. This is a homeless shelter. We do not know the emotional state of some of our guests, and things could happen. Is it dangerous? I'm not saying it's dangerous. All I'm saying is for a kid may not be able to process the information they're seeing or what's happening inside the shelter at their age. So it's for their protection. For this reason, no youth under 14 are allowed in the shelter as long as there are any guests present. On Sunday afternoon, if you're setting up your site at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, any kid can be there helping. I'm actually the person that is going to be with the key leader at the church helping set up. But at 6:30, when the guests start arriving, at that point there should not be any children under 14 inside the shelter. So what happened with kids 14 to 16? Well, youth under 16 are only allowed to help with serving meals and must remain behind a serving table or in the kitchen area while guests are present. They are not allowed to go to the tables where the guests are sitting. This includes they are not allowed to be serving the food at the table and then walking away and going to another table and walking away. Why? Again, safety. Youth 16 to 17 are allowed to help at the check-in table and meals as long as a parent or guardian is with them the entire time. Shift 1 and 3 only. Shift 3 is the shift in the morning when they are checking out and serving breakfast, in case someone had that question. Shift 1 is the evening shift. So basically, no minors volunteering after hours during the overnight hours. No one under 18 is allowed to work overnights. And last but not least, some of you experienced this year police officers that were off duty working along with COFM. Why are we doing this? It assists with the security of the shelter. We are not hiding the presence of the police officer in the shelter, but their intention there is not to be looking at what our guests are doing right or wrong. Their intention is to make sure everyone is safe within the shelter. They assist by having the security presence, they carry their badge visible. They assist during security while we're doing check-in, especially sometimes someone new comes in and they encounter all these rules and they may get a little bit defensive. The presence of the police officer helps with that. They just kind of like, okay, let me not, stay kind of quiet. Off-duty officers are on site between 6 and 9. In some cases, it's going to be 5:30 to 8:30. This is on a case-by-case situation, and we won't know that until it's your week, and the shelter manager will know when the police officer is supposed to be there. It may be also that we have a night that we don't have a police officer. And something very important is, please, the police officer is there to assist COFM and keep you and our guests safe. Do not ask them about any personal information regarding our guests. They may know the guests that come in. If there's no reason to communicate even with the shelter manager any background about the guest, that conversation won't happen. So we're asking you, please don't go asking the police officer for information about the guest, because it puts them in a difficult position on how to answer and what to answer when they are not allowed to be sharing information about the guest. And any questions about any of this will be taken at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
You can hang on to that. That'll be for questions, but also, can you check with Ferdinand at the end to see if there's any questions? Okay, thanks. All right, so thank you, Will Marie. Thank you so much. So we have an updated website, all right? We have tried to make it, one of the things when I looked at our website, what happened was someone called me and they said, Donnie, I can't find this. I was like, well, it's right on our website. So I was on the phone and I walked them through and I'm like, geez, Louise, I can't find anything on this website. And I'm like, and I'm supposed to know this. So over the summer, we made it our mission so that there's a lot of things. You have to remember there's guests that go on the website, there's donors that go on the website, there's key leaders, there's just volunteers, partners. So we had to think of that from every angle. So what I did was I tried to make it as easy as possible for you. And so if you'll notice, if you have to go onto the website and you want materials, you want the training manual, you want anything, you would click on where it says host and site partners, and then you log in. And we have this set up in order so that just people can't just go on and pull our information off. When you log in, you'll get the password from your key leaders. And if you're in my volunteer pool, then get up with me and I'll give you the password to get in. In that, you will have the training manual. You'll have this video. You'll also have a video we're going to be showing you. There's the confidentiality agreement. There's a lot of things that are in there. And all you have to do is type in your password, and then you have all of that. So it's just a great tool for you. And does everybody agree that's pretty simple? So yeah, so we tried to do that for you. So thank you for Dan. And so that is the new website. Take time to go on there. And then when you encourage other people, you can donate on there. You can learn information. Say if you have someone that you met and you're like, I don't remember the schedule. Well, you just go onto the website and it says schedule. One of it, there's a little button right on the beginning of the website that says need shelter. So we've tried to make it as easy to follow as possible. Okay, so next. So right there's one thing, but on the front of the website, like if you're at the home page of the website, if you can go back to that. And say you have someone and you met them, you can scroll down just a bit and see where it says need shelter, and you click on that, and it will tell them they can be our guest, and it tells them a little bit about things. You can click that for the schedule, or they can go down and they can look at resources, and if you scroll, you can say, I remember COFM has that, and you can see there's a ton of resources that they can go and look for. So we've tried to make it beneficial for everyone that would be involved with COFM. Okay, so back to the presentation. Prepping for the shelter. All right, so are there, just by show of hands, because I don't want to spend a lot of time, I'll do it for people who are going to watch the video later. Is there people that are planning on setting up? They're going to have to be there on Sunday to help set up. They're going to be breaking down. Okay, great. All right. So when you set up, when we had to get a lot of this electronics due to COVID and a lot of our air purifiers, it really crammed up our trailer. So we rearranged it. We put it, and it is just like playing Tetris. You put those things in there right, it has a nice fit. You don't win, okay? You don't get any extra points. You don't get to go to the next level, none of that stuff. So as you can see, this is how it's laid out. There is a copy of the trailer manual inside the blue rolling cart. There's also one inside the trailer. Please refer to that. If you put them in like that, everything fits. Just remember, when you're unloading, back in the part where there's the green and the orange that's going this way, that's where you'll find all the dirty laundry. When you load on Sunday, please put it there. If you throw it up in the middle where it says bins, purifiers, you won't be able to get those in there. So just remember that. And then the next thing is our laundry. People are going to be needing to figure out laundry? Yep, okay, I thought so. So we are not using the jail yet. Okay, I was able to finally meet with what is he? I think he's a lieutenant. No, I think he's higher than that. Anyway, I was fortunate enough to be able to meet with him. We will have them in the future, but for this year, we are still going to use the Merrimack Detention Center. They are absolutely fabulous to work with. They have been such a blessing to COFM. The jail is sitting here if you're going down 143, and then the Merrimack Center is right here. So when you turn in like you're going to the jail, you just turn left and drive straight down that road. Big old garage door, you back up to it, ring the doorbell, hi, COFM, and magic, boom, the door opens. And so you unload it, same thing when you pick it up. And so that's That's it for laundry. And then on your shifts, we get to go to some shifts, all right? Shift 1. And so now next, next, did I put 2 of them in there? Did it go away? It died. Okay, it died. So the shifts, so what I want to show you now is I want to show you a typical night in check-in and things like that, and then we'll go over more of the details. All right, so this is a video that we're going to show you. We made this because many of you had said, wow, if we could just see what it looks like to check in, because you get there and you're kind of confused. So roll the video.
Welcome to the Community of Faith Mission Check-In Training video. During this video, you will be shown the process of checking in a guest on a typical shelter evening. Prior to volunteering at the shelter, all volunteers should review the general guidelines and important information document. This is of paramount importance for consistency throughout the shelter program. When volunteers arrive at the shelter, they will go to the designated volunteer sign-in area. Once there, volunteers will log on the computer and include the time in and out. If additional hours are worked during a particular shelter evening, please sign in again and add those hours. If it is your first time volunteering for the season, please sign the Community of Faith Mission Confidentiality Agreement. It is not necessary to sign it every time you come to the shelter. There can be more than one signature on the page. The volunteer will then write their first name only on the name tag and put it on. The volunteer will then either go to their station or see the shelter manager for further instructions. Guests begin arriving around 6 p.m. There may or may not be a sitting area. If no sitting area is offered by the host site, the guests will remain outside until the check-in table is ready. The security volunteer will work closely with the shelter manager to ensure all guests are ready for check-in. The security volunteer will greet each guest and offer them a black bag to put their belongings into. Larger items such as rolling suitcases or duffel bags do not have to be bagged. Items that a guest may keep with them will go into the clear plastic tote that was given to the guest during the intake process on their first night at the shelter. The security volunteer will ask each guest to have their shelter ID card in hand, ready to provide to the shelter manager. If the site is offering showers, the security volunteer will offer a small grocery-style plastic bag for the guest to put in one top and one bottom. Undergarments and socks will be provided at the check-in desk. If it is the first of the week, or if it is a first-time guest, the guest will be given a new toiletry kit at the check-in table. If this is the guest's first night, the security volunteer will ask for the guest's identification and will inform the guest of what they can keep and will provide the guest with a baggie prior to the intake process. The security volunteer will give the ID to the shelter manager and state there is a new guest. As the security volunteer is talking to the guests and providing bags, the volunteer will also be observing to see if guests have any possible hidden items inside their socks, under their shirts, etc., in addition to noticing any signs of intoxication. If anything is noticed, the security volunteer will inform the shelter manager, and together, the security volunteer and the shelter manager will approach the guest. If there is an off-duty officer available, the officer will also be there to assess the situation. Once the shelter manager states the check-in has begun, around 6:30 p.m., the security volunteer will have the first guest go to the check-in table and have the next guest come forward and stand ready, on deck. If a guest does not have all the required items inside the black bag, and if the clear tote is not ready for check-in, then security will go to the next guest, who is ready for check-in. There will be 3 people at the check-in table and 1 to 2 roamers. The first person at the check-in table will be the shelter manager. The shelter manager will take the shelter ID from the guest and place it aside for later entry. The shelter manager will enter the guest's number and number of bags in the shelter database. If it is a new guest, the shelter manager will assign a guest number to the new guest, and intake paperwork will be completed after the check-in process is slowed down. Next will be Volunteer 1, who will create the bag labels, name tags, and bedding bag tags. The shelter manager will mention the guest's name, guest number, and how many bags the guest has. Volunteer 1 will create a name tag and the bag labels as shown and place them on the opposite side of the table in order to be accessible to the guest. The guest will put on the name tag and tag their own bags. Bedding bag tags will be created each Sunday or the first night of the week for the guest. These tags will be put in a pile next to Volunteer 1, and the tags will be tied to the bedding bags after the initial check-in rush. Volunteer 2 will take shower and lunch sign-ups, and may provide undergarments and socks if available. Each guest will receive a new toiletry kit on Sundays, and each new guest will get a toiletry kit on their first night regardless of the day. Once the guest has labeled their bags and taken a toiletry kit, Roamer 1 will usher the guests with their belongings to the storage area. Volunteers do not touch the guests' belongings. Once bags are stored away, Roamer 1 will then usher the guest to the dining social area. While Volunteer 1 is with a guest, Volunteer 2 will step up to assist the next guest. The dinner shift volunteers arrive at 5 p.m. to begin preparing for the evening meal. Guests will be seated in the designated dining area. Dinner is served at 7 p.m. Depending on the host site, guests will either line up and be served buffet style, or meals will be brought to the tables. Volunteers who are not involved in a shift project are encouraged to sit with the guests to offer conversation. Please note, no personal information about you or your family that would identify where you live or work should be shared. Once meals are done, guests should be encouraged to dispose of their used plates, cups, etc. Bus tickets are distributed beginning at 7:30 a.m. and ending at 8:30 a.m. The shelter manager will review the bus pass procedure with the volunteer prior to distribution. One single bus pass per eligible guest. Guests are allowed to get their bedding bags from 8:15 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Once a guest retrieves their bedding bag, they are to go to the designated sleeping area. Guests do not have to turn in until 10 p.m., but we encourage them to get their bedding bags and place them on a mat prior to lights out, so they do not disturb the other guests who turned in earlier. Guest will have their guest number and first name written on tape and placed at the foot of the mat on their first night at the shelter for the week. Guests will keep that same spot each night they come back to the shelter. If a guest is not at the shelter for 2 nights, the tape will be removed, so another guest can be assigned that mat. Thank you to James River Baptist Church for allowing us the use of their facilities, and to all the volunteers that helped make this video possible.
So we're not going to say that this was Hollywood. It wasn't A, B, C, or D, but I hope it got the point across. And I thank you so much. We have a couple of our actresses in the audience, so thank you very much for what you did. Okay, so now I'm going to go through this. I know you can read, so I'm not going to go line by line. My main point of doing this is for the food, for people who are serving the meals. The biggest thing is outside of the planned meals. So in other words, if you're planning on having pizza, or if you're bringing in the meals, or you're making soup, whatever you're choosing to do, meatloaf, that's fine. Please, I'm asking that you don't make a special meal. Say that you have planned this, but there's a guest that says, well, I don't really like this, and so you sneak out and run out and buy him or her Wendy's, okay, because that's their favorite meal. It's just not fair to the other guests. We've had that happen in the past. We're asking that you don't do that. If you ran out, then you can serve them a sandwich that you're going to be using to make lunch. And so I ask that. Also, when you're making the lunch, please only do what you're going to do for each person. There was a time when one person wanted to be nice, and so they made this person, they wanted 6 sandwiches, and they made them 6 sandwiches. Guess what happened when the partner showed up? They only had enough to make the sandwiches for that number, so this person was demanding 6 sandwiches because they got it the day before. So always remember that we're in this together, and that, we want to look like the arms and the hands and feet of Jesus, and doing that is respecting and caring for one another, and that includes your partners, all right? And so then the next slide is the security. And the important thing is, don't assume because somebody has a backpack that they're a guest. I carry a backpack. Sometimes I'm working overnight, sometimes I've been at work all day, and you might know me because, like I didn't introduce myself, but you might know me because you see me, but the guests might be dressing better than I do, okay? So just don't assume when you see someone you think, I wonder if that's a guest or not. Why don't you just come up and say, hi, I'm Donnie, and I'm going to be working an overnight shift. How do you do? And then you say, are you here for volunteering or dropping off, or are you guests? Give them the option to answer you, okay? And the other thing is new for this season, all right? How many people have worked check-in? A bunch, okay. You know how every Sunday we give them a hygiene bag? Well, we've been realizing there's a whole lot of waste going on with that. So we have decided that what we're going to do this year is, of course, the first week everybody gets hygiene kit. After that, on Sunday, we're going to have some bins set up that may be sitting up at the end where the person who gives the hygiene kits or the toiletry kits out, they may be sitting right there or at a little table real close to them, and they're going to have the typical things that the people will want. Because sometimes you get a big bar of soap, we're also going to be given a sandwich bag with the soap, because once they use it, it gets all wet and funky, and then they got to put it back in that bag, so we're doing that. But also, they may not need another bar of soap. They may not need another tube of toothpaste. They may not need another deodorant the next week. So we're allowing them to pick those things. So that's new. So just if you're working check-in, just be aware that that will be something different. And then you heard in the video, it's important to put that tape, and the people whoever's working the check-in that's roamers, you're going to shift to be the bedding people at 8:15. So just remember to have the blue tape and a marker with you, and you just go and put their first name and their number on the mat, and that way they're the only ones going there. It's just a great way to keep anything from cross-contamination. Let's see, next. Oh, and also when you're finished with your shift and you're doing that, just take time to take a wipe and kind of clean up your area, wipe off the pens, wipe off the table, the back of the chairs. And okay, the showers for the YMCA. How many people have been a chaperone at the shower? Okay, so one of the things that happens is you are at COFM, you pick up the towels, you go to the Y, no one knows a thing. So what has happened is there were several incidents, and we almost lost our privilege. That is a privilege that we have, that I negotiate every year with the YMCA. We were able to get back into their graces because I assured them that we would follow things very strictly. It has been working out great. This will be our third season that we're going to attempt that we almost lost our privilege. So one of the things with taking the shower is the key leader, they should have already selected a chaperone. If you are that chaperone, so what happens is you're going to fill out that form for the showers. It's important to make a copy of that for the person who's going to be the chaperone. We also scan and send a copy to the YMCA. So when you get there, they should be matching. The only people that come and take a shower are going to be the people on that list. If they're not on the list, they don't take a shower. So as a chaperone, you don't go, well, they're not on the list, but please don't do that. That's how we can lose our privilege. So this is a privilege that myself and the head of YMCA have agreed to, and having people come that aren't on the list is not what we've agreed to. So, and then the person who's picking up the towels, they're going to pick them up, and they're going to pick up a white bag with a black handle in order to put the dirty towels in. And when they're arriving at the YMCA, check in with the desk, let them know, hey, I'm here. You go sit in the hallway where the showers are, hand them a towel, have them come back. It is 15 minutes. If they abuse that, they're not going to be able to use it again. A lot of times we don't have that many people, but when we do, if you've been letting them slide and giving them 20 minutes, 30 minutes, now you have 10 people taking a shower. Now you're trying to hurry them up. Then you get well, you let me before, so we just don't want that. We want consistency. That's what's worked so well. So you'll sign up, and the times that you pick for the shower, whoever's doing the shower sign up, you will be with the shelter manager, and you will be looking at the bus schedule and seeing what time the bus picks them up and what time it gets to the Y. If the bus doesn't get to the Y until 8 o'clock, why would you have a volunteer there at 6 a.m.? So you don't want to even sign them up for 6 a.m. because they're not going to make it anyway. So be aware of that. Well, I think that's it for showers. Yep, okay. Overnight, when we have a lot of times, overnight is a tough one, but please consider 9 to 1, 1 to 5:30. If you know of someone who has young children at home, a lot of times they think, oh, I'm too beat. I've been working with the kids all day, I want to put them to bed. When I volunteered, that was when I actually volunteered a lot, because I knew everybody was asleep and safe at home, so I could go and I could read a book. I could watch that movie I was wanting to watch. It was very peaceful, and there were times when guests couldn't sleep, and that was a time to do a lot of one-on-one. So it's just something to think about. And let's see. The other thing on shift, let's see, what Will Marie said about the electronics, she's not joking. We've had more physical fights and more calls for police during the middle of the night because of electronics. It really is just that serious of a thing. Doesn't seem like it, you think, well, what's the big deal? But it is. You have to remember, many of the people that come to our shelter are in survival mode. This is the first time they've gotten a night's sleep, knowing they could sleep and not having to worry about somebody coming up to them. And so when they see that light blaring or somebody's laughing because they're sneaking under the blanket watching a movie, it creates a lot of problems. So it is that serious. And between 10 and 1, you're going to be doing intake. If someone new comes, the shelter manager is going to go over all of that with you before they head out for the night. So you have everything you need. And the other thing is that we're going to be just a phone call away. If you are working the overnight shifts on Thursdays and Fridays, know that there may be laundry there that was picked up during the day that's going to need to be sorted and put in there. And so I think the next slide shows the inventory. Yes. And so here's the inventory sheet. That's what it looks like inside every bin. Please make sure you enter your date and how many are there total. Okay, and also at the end of the week, just before you're packing up everything, you should be going in there writing how many is left. Because if you do it and you say, okay, we used 26 of them, we have 40 of them, so there will be 14 left. So you're going to write 14. That means the next person that comes along is going to say, okay, I should have 26 sheets to put back in there. If they don't, we need a call right away, because it could have been a bag left at the jail. It could have gotten lost in transit. The person that dropped off the laundry could have had it in their trunk and just forgot about it. So we need to know right away. Next. Let's see. Okay. In the morning when you get there, your choice on how your meals, we don't micromanage that. That's your choice. You can offer a muffin and juice. You can do a full-out fancy breakfast. Your choice. One of the things that the people who are going to help the shelter manager, they're going to be getting the bags, helping them. Also, what I would ask, if once everybody leaves, if you would help, if the kitchen people have not, making sure you wipe down the back of the chairs, the tables, the light switches, doorknobs, anything that's a touch thing, do that, because the manager is going to fog. Unless you're one of those people who love the Ghostbuster thing and you want to put on that backpack and go have fun, then let them know. They will be glad to let you do that. Okay? And then you want to make sure everything is secure so that it's put away, the electronics is locked and put away. You want to help do that. Next. Can you back up one, please? And the other thing is, as you can see, only single serve items may be placed on the table. We still want to keep that. Some of the practices we created during the pandemic were just good practices to continue doing. So the less people are touching everything, the less contamination you get. So we still ask that there be single servings. So don't put the coffee pot out. You can pour the coffee in a cup and let it sit out, and then use the packets of sugar, or have someone there that scoops the sugar out for them. Okay, thank you. And so I already shared that, so we can move on with that. And then again, this is if you're loading up. One more time, you can't tell that it's really important how you load the trailer, huh? Okay, next, I think pretty much with that. All right, general guidelines and important information. How many of you, I'm so thankful so many of you showed, but I didn't make enough copies. But how many people received the guidelines? Okay, that's what this is, the review of the important guidelines. This is what I want to go over with you. There are some things that are really important. Next. All right, so electronically sign in. What you did tonight is the same thing you're going to do at the shelter. And it's going to be a touch screen again, and that a lot of times it helps you. And if you don't like touch screens, you can just hit the tab. And if and if there's a lot of challenges and it's really frustrating, what you may want to do as a key, if there's any key leaders here, or if you want to make this suggestion to the key leader, is like what we did, you have a designated person that just signs everybody in, okay, if that works better for you. And the other thing is, the way this works is when you sign in, you're just going to do, like say if you said, okay, I'm going to do the shift 1. I'm going to help with the meals. The meals are from 5 to 7:30, 2.5 hours. So put in there 2.5 hours, even though you haven't worked it. But then say somebody gets sick and they can't, and they're not going to be able to come in and help you. You said, you know what, I don't really have anything going on tonight. I'll do the 9 to 1. I'll stay. Go back into that, sign in, and add those hours. We need the hours when we apply for grants and things like that. We're able, in our annual report, we're able to share with them just how much of an impact you have. So that's why it's important for us to get all the hours. The other thing is, I know you might think, what, I don't dress like that, but it happens. We're in a place, we want to be modest in our dress. We're not there for a fashion show. We're not there to try to find a date. So we want to make sure that we dress conservatively. Look, everybody's snickering because they were thinking, oh, is that it? Is that why you're laughing? And so the other thing is that the guest can be experiencing a lot of things. As I said, they're in survival mode. It takes about 3 weeks of being in the shelter before that guard starts coming down and they start sharing. Okay, so you can think about if it's their first night, they may be agitated very quickly. You may go, hey, and they're, just remember, they're not in the same frame of mind that you're in. So just be aware of that. And the other thing, the guest confidentiality, I can't stress it enough. You're going to see and hear things, and you're going to be, woo. And you may want to think, you know what happened to me at the shelter last night? You can do a general. You can say, wow, I really learned something new about homelessness. But you don't want to say, this dude named Jack Jones was there. And the other person goes, wow, I knew a Jack Jones. Okay, so you don't want to do that. And so please, this has happened more times than I can say. Do not adopt a family. If you're not sure what that could happen, watch the movie Jennifer Smart, okay? And you can see what could happen. And so you just do not want to adopt a family. You can, you pray for them. I know some people have had great, wonderful stories afterwards. If your church has a ministry and you met them and then you want to transfer them over to that ministry, that's fine. And then you become part of that, that's fine. But your church has parameters. But in our shelter, we don't have that set up. So we ask that you don't adopt a family by them being at the shelter, okay? The other thing is you don't want to touch their belongings. For one, it's not because of just a hygiene issue. That's all they have, okay? And so you go to pick something up, and they may be so used to somebody stealing their stuff that they may be offended. So just remember that. Like I said, you want to be conscientious of their state. Okay, next. So the other thing is that when you're talking to the guests, engage in conversation. They're human beings. Don't be afraid. I have literally been at some of the host sites where the guests are right here and everybody else is over here. They're humans, okay? I don't know if they have cooties or not, but I don't know if you have cooties or not. So, but anyway, please never give them money or gifts. I've seen people give them a couple bucks, they're out of cigarettes. Oh, I'm just helping them out. Something a very devout Christians share with me that was so true, and it's something I keep with me, is they said, the well of need will never run dry. You will run dry well before they do, okay? So just remember that. You think you're helping, but they will come back. But what would be even better if you help them out of their situation by giving them the resources, sharing with them like on the website, or letting the shelter manager know, hey, this person needs this. That's how you help them. That's how you truly help them. The other thing is we use over-the-counter medicine, so we don't touch their prescription, but over-the-counter we can give them whatever it's prescribed on the bottle. But for our safety and liability, we only want either the shelter manager or the shift leader to do that. So if you're there and you see the medicine bin and you think, oh, let me just go do that, don't. Just get a leader to do that. It's not because we don't think you know what you're doing. It's just the less hands in that, the lower the liability. Let's see, the personal belongings, as we said. Now this year, I do want you to know, The totes, because of everything that's gone up, those clear totes you see them walking around with, they have literally gone up almost double. So the cost is just so outrageous for us. So we have shifted to it's a 2.5 gallon bag that fills the same amount of stuff that the tote would. So it costs us about 10% of what the totes would cost. So we have a few totes left, so we're going to give those out at the beginning, and then we'll switch to that. Now, we're not going to give a new bag to a person every single week. That's their bag to use. But yet, if they do lose it, we won't have an issue giving them another one. It's just not going to be a guaranteed thing every week. Let's see. Please do not let them use your cell phone. They call, you're going to, oh, it's 10:30. There's no manager here. What's the big deal? Their kid is sick. They want to check on them. They haven't been, I'll let them use the phone. What did you just do? You just gave that other person your phone number. Now you're getting calls all the time saying, hey, is so-and-so there? Can you get them a message for me? Okay, so please be aware of that. And then the loud talking, music, you may think, but it's not 10 o'clock, lights aren't out. But as I said, the state of mind. So we never want to do anything to raise the anxiety level. Okay, next. So, and I'm sorry this is a lot, but these are things that we have over and over. That is why I've given you that. On the website, there's this sheet, and I didn't even do all the pages on this, but there's a sheet. It's just something, if you were to review all that, you'd have a great understanding of how the shelter needs to operate. And of course, that obvious that they're not in the kitchen, smoking, the bedding, we know most of that. Guests cannot leave. I have had that happen. A guest forgets something in his car, and it'd be like, it's only going to take them a minute. Okay, but how do you know what they went out and got? They may have said they left that, but what if they put a knife in their pocket? Well, you're not going to pat them down again, are you? Are you going to research them, retake their bags, So they just don't go back out. And that's why security, whoever's our security volunteer, it is so important to say, hey, do you have your charger? Do you have your medicine? Do you have your phone? Do you have anything that needs to get you through the night? If so, make sure it goes in that clear bag, because you cannot go back into your bags or go out to your vehicle. Of course, obvious sleeping area. Parents with children, we may have more children this year because of the eviction rate. If we do, one parent goes with the child. Okay, and we do separate them. Now, it may be something, for instance, here, this is where our shelter is. We don't have another room. So what we did was we put partitions up here, and then this was their sleeping area. So they were blocked off from the rest, but they are separated. But yet they were in this room. So you can do something like that. But you don't let the parent, we had another situation where people said, okay, well, they let the husband and wife in the room with the child. It's like, no, we don't do that. And then, of course, all the belongings. That I've had churches where, oh, they just left their bike here, oh, they just left this, and the guests didn't come back. Now this church is stuck with their stuff and really doesn't know what to do. Let them take their stuff every day. Next. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Okay, I didn't say that. Okay, so that is the end of that. We will have a short question and answer. If you do security, it's not this long. We just need you to stay back. There's some specific things I want to hit on for security. But for now, that does conclude. Thank you so much. Are there any questions that I can answer? Yes, sir. And she's got a microphone.
Thank you, Are the guests made aware before they come to the facility of any of these rules that you're telling us that need to be enforced?
Couldn't quite understand the question.
I'm just wondering if the guests that are coming in have been told some of these rules that they have to be aware of and have to follow.
Oh, excellent question. Are the guests aware of the rules? Excellent question. So the guest, we give them a first time, it says a first time quick reference, and there's many of these things that are on that they receive when they come for the first time. Also security, again, that's why it's so important to have the security volunteer be well aware of what's going on, and that's what we'll be training, is that they are aware so that when this guest is this or that, they can share, hey, you're not going to allow that, whatever the rules are. Can I go to the bathroom now? No, it's not check-in time. We had It's funny because a couple of these things has happened at this church. We had a guest, had to go to the bathroom so bad, had to go to the bathroom so bad. Guess what they did? They opened up the toilet paper thing and shoved their little bottles of liquor in there so they could come back later. So no, you can't go in until you've put all your stuff in a bag. Okay, next question. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that when we had sheltered, the fogging in the bathrooms outside the shower doors, outside the bathroom or shower door, there was a bleaching effect on the carpet after it had fogged. I understand that the bedding area is going to have to be fogged this year. What about the solution for fogging? Is it safe for carpet?
Okay, so you want to know that if the solution that's used for fogging is a bleaching agent?
Yes.
No, it is not. It is a hospital-grade disinfectant. It is safe for carpets, upholstery, plastics. I think they said don't put it, I don't remember what it was, but it's something we don't use. I think it was leather or something. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, it does not bleach, because I was so worried about that, and it did say it was safe to spray on the carpet.
Right.
Yes. Kathy?
I just have a question about intaking new guests that come in after 9 o'clock. Will the shelter manager be there to do that? If someone shows up at the door, will a police officer still be there? Or, who would be letting that person into the building after 9 o'clock?
Okay, loaded question there, Kathy. You sure you only have one? Sounded like three. So after 9, the only people that can come into the shelter are people who have had already a prearranged agreement that they're working, and we already have them on the list, and the shelter manager is still there. The only other people that will be allowed is if they have a police escort. So if they're new, if they've already been with us, then we just say, officer, can they come in? Do they seem intoxicated? Are they good to go? And so if they're brand new, we will ask the officer to please make sure they're fit to come into the shelter, and we will also ask them if they will do a sex offender check on them. So that relieves the people who are going to be doing the intake from having to look all that information up. I think that was it for you, right? Okay, next. Hey. Okay, great question. So we are community of faith mission. So our faith base is varied in our community. And so, but what we have to realize is that we are not set up as a huge area. We are set up as a small, and so we have 2 areas. So we do male or female. If they've had, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but let's just say they've had a successful operation, okay, is the best way I know how to say it, then that's one thing. But if they choose to identify such as the person that said that and then went in and raped girls in the bathroom, if they are biologically male, they will be in the male's room. What we did, though, I will tell you, I try to be sensitive to all that because a lot of times the gender, I want to say confusion. I don't mean to be offensive, so if anybody's offended by that, please don't take it. I'm trying to figure out the simplest words to use. But just say at that point they're trying to figure it out. Some of that, what we had, I'm not saying this is the world, I'm saying for us, almost everyone had a lot of mental illness too. They were switching. I think one person became a unicorn too. So there was a lot more going on than just that. So what I did with this one particular person is they were biological male. I walked them through the male sleeping area and I said, this is where you will be. I need to know that you'll feel safe there. They were totally fine with it. I literally had more issue with the volunteers than I did this person. Every single week, I did that with that person. Every single week at the beginning of the shelter because if there was a discomfort, we would have figured something else out. And that's what we'll continue to do. Some churches have chosen to give them their private room. I struggle with that because it's like, well, so if I decide this, I get a private room, whereas if they do that and they, appear that, and they don't, because you have to remember, there's women, like say if it's a male that states that they're a female, there are women that have suffered trauma. So now so this person who has a beard and you know, and everything, and looks by all means a male, and they're sleeping in there. So we have to realize we're not out to change, we're not out to be the politically correct world. We're trying to make sure that people who have nowhere to stay have a place to lay their head and feel safe for the night. So that's the approach we're going to do. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, absolutely.
At the hotel,
But I'm going to start charging you after 5.
who is the shelter manager?
Okay, at the hotel, who is the shelter manager? Okay, great question. So 3 of our weeks this year, we do not have a host site. So we are using hotels. We have 2 hotels that we'll be using. It is run exactly the same, as close as possible to the shelter. So the shelter manager arrives at 5, just like they arrive at the churches. So we have 4. We have 4 shelter managers. So one of them happens to be Ferdinand back there, who's helping us with the video. So yeah, we have hired staff. Yep.
How and when will we know how many people we are cooking for?
How and when are we going to know how many people?
We are cooking for.
Great question, great question. For people who are doing meals, what I do is so the first week, it's hairy, because we don't know, we don't have a clue. But during that week, around Wednesday or Thursday, you get a kind of a feel. And so then I reach out to the next host site and say, hey, this week has gone this. We have one guest who's a diabetic that may be with us. We've had 17 people this week. It gives you an idea. Does that mean 17 are going to show up next week? You may have 25, you may have 7. We don't know, but that's what we do. We do an average. So then on your Sunday, you get a feel. If it looks like, because depending on where the church is located also affects the numbers. People, I think there's somebody here from, I know Williamsburg United Methodist Church is here, and so if they're close to the bus station, you could have 7 people at the other one, you could have 25 at there, you know. It just works that way. So, but I always let people know the week before. I will, yes, or my wonderful assistant, Will Marie. That may be one of the duties I pass on.
I don't know if I'm the only one who isn't getting this, but is the person who's cooking the meals also providing the breakfasts? And then there was something in one of those slides about lunch.
Yes, so what happens is the host site, so for instance, you. So at the hotel that you'll be working with, the hotel provides a continental breakfast every day. So they will be bringing that about 4 in the morning, and then you take that to the doors and wake them up at 6. But for the host sites, they'll be choosing, and as I said, so when the host site is responsible for the meals. So however they want to do it, sometimes there are some that have just a great way they work it. They get their different groups, their youth group or their women's group or the men's group or whatever, and they each provide the meals for the week. And it's just a great way of getting the whole church involved. So they'll do that. Other people will do, one church does a fantastic thing the last night of the shelter, they do a big fish fry. You know, another church will do, they'll cater one night. Another church has an agreement with a restaurant here and they cater each night. So it's any way you want. Some people, somebody here, they make incredible, it's like a shepherd pie, and it's really good. So, you know, but they're famous for doing that every year. So it's just whatever works.
And what about, you mentioned lunch.
And the bag lunch, so what you do is, the bag lunch can be whatever. It can be a Subway gift card and a bottle of water. It can be a sandwich, it can be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It can be the leftover chicken you had because you bought 4 boxes of chicken and only used 2. We don't care. It's just something what we ask is that maybe it has some type of protein, whether it's a piece of cheese or whatever, and has some kind of drink, you know.
Is the person who cooks the dinner responsible for the lunches?
It's however you want to work. It's however the church wants to work that out. Yep. Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else? Yes.
What do you want to tell folks when they ask the question about personal laundry? We've done all kinds of things over What's the right answer?
Okay, so if a guest says, you know, my suitcase is full of dirty laundry, you know, I really need to get my laundry done. You can you can go to the shelter manager, and for resources, one of the things is there's the House of Mercy offers laundry cards. I think they only do it maybe once a month. The other thing you can do is the church may choose to do laundry cards. I caution you because a lot of times laundry cards are sold for alcohol. And so, but you can do that. The other thing you can do that we're trying to work out in a community setting, I meet with community leaders, is they were trying to figure it out, and we can't do it yet, but maybe the church could say, hey, let's do one of our gifts to the guests this week is laundry day. And you may have one of your volunteers that say, I will go and meet the guests from this time to this time, and we'll, you know, you don't, you know, I don't know if any of you are old like me, but we used to put all the coins in the thing and slide it and do, you don't do that. Now you got to do a card. You got to put your debit card to get a card, and then you put that card in the machine. So what the church can do is load up a card with, you know, say $100, and then you put that in and you do so many people's laundry. You can do that. So there's several different ways. We cannot personally take it to our homes. If you do, I will be so angry at you. But you can't really do something like that. But those are some ideas. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just want to know if we had permission to say exactly what you did. We'll meet you at so.
Yeah, that is, and you know, but it's a great question, Dick, that you bring, because here's something else. Not so much the laundry, but we have our policies and procedures. Within that realm is what we ask you to work with, but we ask you to bring your personal touch to it. You know, we ask you to do like that. Another place, like I said, we do their special meals. Some people do little gift bags. You know, they do call us to ask us about the gift bags to make sure that there's things that are acceptable. There's one church that does movie night. They do bingo. You know, some of them, there's one church that puts fancy tablecloths and flowers, fresh flowers every night. So it's just whatever you want to do to make it special, please do that. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thank you so much. For people who are going to be doing security, if you would please hang back. Like I said, we're going to maybe spend, oh yeah, wait a minute. Oh yeah, hold on. I was going to say, that's right, we're going to do it now. We're going to do a closing prayer now, and then I'll pray for you security people because you need an extra one. But anyway, after the prayer, if you're going to do security, like I said, it's only going to be maybe a 15 minutes. It's just really important that you stay back for that.
All right. The Lord be with you. Got some good Episcopalians in here. Dearest God, we thank you for being here at the center of our gathering tonight. Thank you for our homes and a place to sleep and good food to eat. Help us to provide those same things to our guests this season. Now see us safely to our homes and help us to rest well. Give us peaceful dreams and send your angels around us to protect us throughout the night. Teach us to trust you more and to love you more and more. You are good, you are great, and you are faithful, God. Amen.
Okay, that concludes the general training. So like I said, if you're going to be doing security, if you'll please hang tight. If you are not doing security, if you can please head to the lobby so that we can not have all the people have to wait. Awesome. That's a volunteer pool.
I did medical screenings last time. That's what I was.
We're not going to, I don't know that you'll need to do medical screening unless United Methodist, are you a part of Williamsburg United Methodist?
No.
No, okay. So, oh, that's right, you're WU. I don't know if they'll do that this year or not.